Cristiano Ronaldo and Georgina Rodriguez got married in secret. They pulled it off by pointing the entire world's attention at the wrong island. While they said "I do" somewhere, nobody was watching. For a decade, this was the question hanging over one of the most photographed couples on the planet. Now it has an answer, and the way they got there says more about this relationship than any wedding photo ever could. Let's start where the story actually breaks open. With a ring, a 10-year wait, and a plan nobody saw coming. On August 11, 2025, Georgina Rodriguez posted a photo that ended nearly a decade of speculation. Her hand rested on top of Cristiano Ronaldo's, and on her finger sat a diamond so large that jewelers would spend the next year arguing about its exact size. The caption, written in Spanish, read simply, "Yes, I do. In this and in all my lives." The internet did not know what to focus on first, the words or the rock. Fox News had reported that Ronaldo, 40, and Georgina Rodriguez, who had been his girlfriend since 2017, were now engaged, as she shared on Instagram, with a heartwarming caption in Spanish. But this wasn't a surprise that came out of nowhere. Fans had been circling this moment for years, and Ronaldo himself had practically confirmed it was coming. Months earlier, during an appearance on Netflix, he'd spoken about waiting for a click to happen that would lead to a proposal, saying it could be in a year or 6 months or a month, and that he was 1000% sure it would happen. He kept his word. The ring itself became its own news story. Harper's Bazaar Australia described the piece as an oversized oval-cut diamond flanked by 2 side stones, with experts estimating its size at between 22 and 30 carats. Jeweler Maggie Simpkins told The Cut she believed it was worth between US $2 million and US $5 million, placing it among the most extravagant celebrity engagement rings in recent years. Other estimates went even higher. One report pegged the stone's value at least 6 million euros, describing a jaw-dropping 40 to 45 carat oval-cut diamond flanked by 2 triangle-cut stones. Nobody could agree on the number. That in itself tells you something about how this couple operates. They don't confirm details. They let the world guess, and the guessing becomes the story. To understand why this moment mattered so much, you have to go back to where it all started. Ronaldo and Georgina met in 2016 at a Gucci boutique in Madrid, where she worked while he was still playing for Real Madrid. It's a detail that sounds almost too neat for a fairy tale. The world's most famous athlete walking into a luxury store and walking out with the person he'd spend the next decade of his life with. They made their public debut as a couple at the Best FIFA Football Awards in Zurich in January 2017, and by May of that year, they'd made it Instagram official. From there, the relationship grew in scale right alongside Ronaldo's career. They went from Madrid to Turin when he signed with Juventus, then to Manchester when he returned to Old Trafford, and eventually to Riyadh when he signed with Al Nassr. Each move came with a new home, a new set of headlines, and a family that kept expanding. Georgina gave birth to their daughter Alana in 2017. In 2022, the couple announced the devastating loss of their newborn son, Angel, the twin brother of their daughter Bella. It was one of the few moments where the relentless public interest in this couple turned into something genuinely painful to watch play out. By the time the ring appeared in August 2025, Ronaldo and Georgina had built a household with 5 children between them. Cristiano Jr. from a previous relationship, twins Eva and Mateo, and daughters Alana Martina and Bella Esmeralda. This wasn't a young couple testing the waters. This was a family that had already weathered a decade of tabloids, tax hearings, transfers, and tragedy together. So when the engagement finally came, the question wasn't really, will they get married? It was when and how. And Ronaldo, ever the showman on the pitch, but famously private off it, gave a clue almost immediately. In a conversation with Piers Morgan, he was asked about timing, and rather than naming a date, he pointed to the calendar of his career. Georgina, for her part, had told Elle Spain that whenever the wedding happened, it would be an intimate affair. A promise that, as it turned out, she intended to keep to the letter. For months, The guessing game consumed Spanish and Portuguese entertainment media. Every appearance, every ring photo, every family trip to Madeira got dissected for wedding clues. A journalist named Alberto Guzman, speaking on the Spanish program De Corazon, said he'd spoken to someone close to Georgina, who told him the couple were still discussing dates, but that nothing was locked in, and that Ronaldo had been quite playful about it whenever pressed. Guzman's read on the situation was that the wedding would happen after the World Cup concluded, and that all signs pointed to Portugal as the venue. He was right about the timing. He was wrong about almost everything else, including, as it turned out, the entire nation's assumption about exactly where in Portugal it would happen. That guessing game was about to blow up into the biggest wedding day mix-up football fandom had ever seen, and it started with a football tournament neither Ronaldo nor Portugal wanted to talk about just yet. Here's the thing about tying your wedding date to a soccer tournament. Soccer tournaments don't care about your plans. Ronaldo had made clear, well before the engagement, that the 2026 World Cup would be his last on that stage. Reports out of Spain had suggested the wedding would happen after July 19, 2026, the date the tournament wrapped, with Ronaldo, who would be 41 by then, reportedly determined to participate in one final tournament before bidding farewell to international competition on the biggest possible stage. The plan made emotional sense. Win one for the ages, then walk down the aisle as a champion. It's the kind of ending Ronaldo's entire career had been building toward, a man who had broken nearly every scoring record in the sport, but had never once lifted the World Cup trophy itself. It didn't happen that way. Portugal's tournament ended in the round of 16, with a 1-0 loss to Spain, the team that would go on to become champions. Ronaldo played all 90 minutes. He left the field to a loud ovation from the crowd in Arlington, Texas, in tears. Speaking to reporters afterward, he said it had been his last World Cup and that he'd now have time to think, stay with his family, and let life continue. It marked 6 World Cups in a row where Ronaldo had walked away without the one trophy that had eluded him his entire career. A record for World Cup appearances that also became a record for World Cup heartbreak. This is the moment where the wedding math changes. The tournament that was supposed to be the crowning celebration before the ceremony instead became a source of grief the couple had to process privately, out of the spotlight, before they could even think about planning a party. Reports out of Portugal noted that after Portugal's exit, the wedding had reportedly been postponed, with no new date set. For a couple who had already spent a decade being watched, this was familiar terrain. They'd learned over and over that the biggest life moments, a proposal, a pregnancy, a loss, land better when you control the reveal instead of letting the public control it for you. So instead of rushing into a celebration timed to a trophy that never came, they let it sit. They regrouped, and crucially, they let the speculation machine keep running in the background, unaware that the misdirection was about to become the whole plan. Because while the football world moved on to autopsy Portugal's exit and debate whether this really was Ronaldo's last dance in a national team shirt, the wedding rumor mill kept spinning, and it landed almost unanimously on one location: Madeira. It made total sense on paper. Madeira is Ronaldo's birthplace, the island close to both the hospital where he was born and the stadium where his football journey began. A local outlet, Jornal da Madeira, reported that the wedding was scheduled for sometime in 2026, after the World Cup, and would take place at the historic Funchal Cathedral, followed by a reception at a nearby 5-star hotel. Other outlets ran with a specific date, a Saturday in early August, and even a start time for the ceremony, treating it as settled fact. Everything about the Madeira theory felt airtight. It had a named cathedral, a named hotel, a plausible date, and, crucially, Ronaldo's own family seemingly confirming it. His sister, Katia Aveiro, shared footage of her arrival on the island, referring to the trip as some kind of celebration. To fans who'd been tracking this story for a year, that was the final piece of confirmation they needed. Thousands of people believed they had cracked the code. They believed they knew the exact cathedral, the exact hotel, the exact day. And in a story that's about to turn into one of the strangest celebrity wedding moments of the year, That confidence was about to run headfirst into a wall of Portuguese coastline more than 1,000 kilometers from where they'd gathered. Because somewhere else entirely, a very different wedding was already underway. Picture the scene. Roughly 2,000 fans in Ronaldo's number 7 jersey packed onto the steps of Funchal Cathedral in Madeira, absolutely convinced they were about to witness the biggest celebrity wedding of the year. They were watching the wrong wedding entirely while that crowd waited outside the cathedral. Ronaldo and Georgina were quietly becoming husband and wife more than 500 miles away, on the Portuguese mainland, in a coastal town called Cascais, roughly 20 miles outside Lisbon, where the couple had recently bought a home. The mix-up wasn't just a minor miscalculation, it was a full-blown viral moment. Inside Funchal Cathedral that day, an entirely unrelated couple was having their own wedding. A bride and groom who had nothing to do with Ronaldo or Georgina at all. Footage circulated online showing the actual bride arriving for her ceremony and appearing visibly stunned by the size of the crowd waiting outside. A crowd that had shown up expecting to see one of football's biggest stars and instead found themselves gawking at a stranger's special day. The bride's identity and the full circumstances behind how the crowd gathered have never been independently confirmed beyond the footage and reports that spread online. What is clear is that once that footage started circulating, it collided head-on with the real news breaking out of Cascais. Ronaldo and Georgina were already married and had been for days. Ronaldo's own reaction to the chaos was about as understated as the wedding itself. He responded to a viral post about the mix-up with laughing emojis, his one on-the-record acknowledgement of an episode that had briefly turned a stranger's wedding day into an accidental piece of Ronaldo lore. So how did the misdirection actually work? Nobody has confirmed that the Madeira rumors were a deliberate decoy. Reporting on the episode has been careful to note that connection was never established. What's certain is that every signal pointed one way, and reality broke the other. The Jornal da Madeira reporting. The cathedral booking rumors, Katia Aveiro's celebratory trip to the island, even speculation that the couple had booked accommodations under a false name to dodge attention. All of it fed a story that turned out to be about geography, not about the actual event. Meanwhile, in Cascais, the real ceremony was almost aggressively simple. According to Ronaldo's public relations team, the Brunswick Group, the wedding was a civil ceremony described as a private and intimate moment attended by their 5 children. No red carpet, no guest list of football stars or A-list celebrities. No live stream, no paparazzi lens, no press pool. Just the couple and the 5 kids who'd watched their parents build a life together for a decade. The date carried its own quiet symbolism. Ronaldo and Georgina married on a Tuesday in Cascais, exactly 1 year to the day after he'd proposed. It's the kind of detail that only becomes visible in hindsight. While the world had spent a year debating whether the wedding would happen after the World Cup in Madeira, with fireworks and a 5-star reception, the couple had apparently settled on something else entirely. An anniversary date, a quiet town, and nobody watching. The reveal itself matched the ceremony's tone. Rather than releasing an elaborate set of wedding photographs the way so many celebrity couples do, Ronaldo and Georgina shared one image, a photograph of their hands, showing matching wedding bands, captioned with nothing but a heart between the letters C and G. That was it. No statement, no interview, no magazine exclusive. TMZ picked up the news within minutes, and outlets scrambled to confirm details that the couple's own team had deliberately kept vague until after the fact. For a couple who are, by most measures, 2 of the most photographed people alive, the restraint was the story, and it set up an entirely new conversation, not about where they got married, but about what they were wearing on their hands, and what happened to the enormous ring that had captivated jewelers for an entire year. Here's a detail almost nobody predicted, but that jewelers had actually called days in advance. When Georgina showed up in that wedding band photo, her engagement ring wasn't on the same finger as her new band. It had moved to her right hand entirely. Less than a week before the ceremony, jewelers speaking to WWD had already flagged the problem. Georgina's engagement ring, by that point estimated at somewhere between 25 and 30 carats on the center stone, was so large that fitting a wedding band next to it on the same finger would have been close to impossible. Several jewelers landed on the same prediction: she'd keep the rings apart. Tacori co-owner and head of design, Nadine Tacorian Arzarunian, told WWD that a dramatic oval eternity band worn on the opposite hand would create a beautiful connection to an oval engagement ring without competing with it. They called it exactly right. When the photo came out, Georgina's engagement ring had been moved to her right hand, and a new wedding band sat on the left, matching Ronaldo's. The wedding bands themselves were simple, a shared matching design in yellow gold, standing in obvious contrast to the engagement ring's showier setting, which appeared to jewelers to be set in platinum or white gold. That contrast is really the whole story of this wedding in miniature. The engagement ring was the loud version of this relationship, the one-year public spectacle where jewelers across multiple continents spent months arguing over carat counts, with estimates ranging anywhere from 15 carats on the conservative end all the way up to 45 on the high end, and price tags that swung from $2 million into €6 million territory depending on who you ask. Nobody, not Ronaldo, not Georgina, not their team, ever confirmed an exact number. The mystery was arguably more valuable to the story than the diamond itself because it kept the speculation machine running for an entire year, right up until Georgina's wedding day. The wedding band, by contrast, was the quiet version. Small, matching, deliberately unshowy, worn in a photograph that gave the world exactly one detail and nothing else. That pattern, big public gesture, followed by a private and almost defiantly small reveal, has basically defined how this couple has handled every major milestone in their relationship. Consider the engagement itself. It came via a single Instagram photo, not a red carpet reveal or a magazine exclusive. The wedding came via a private civil ceremony attended only by family, followed by one photograph with a two-letter caption. Even the location was chosen, whether deliberately or not, in a way that let the public's attention drift somewhere else entirely. 1,000 kilometers away, at a cathedral where somebody else's wedding gave the couple cover. It's worth pointing out that this wasn't the first time speculation about their marital status had run ahead of reality. Long before the actual engagement, Ronaldo had referred to Georgina as his wife in public more than once, which fueled repeated theories over the years that the couple had already secretly married and simply hadn't announced it. Those rumors always turned out to be premature, but they reveal something real about how this relationship has always operated in public. Half visible, mostly private, and always a step ahead of what people thought they knew. Compare that to how other high-profile couples have handled the same milestone that same summer. Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce, for instance, took the opposite approach entirely, booking out Madison Square Garden for a lockdown, NDA-bound wedding in New York. Different scale, different city, different level of control through contracts and security rather than misdirection and geography. Ronaldo and Georgina achieved a similar level of privacy without any of that infrastructure. Just a quiet coastal town, a 5-person guest list, and a national conversation pointed 500 miles in the wrong direction. The engagement ring's move to the right hand wasn't just a styling choice either. In bridal jewelry terms, it solved a real logistical problem, but symbolically, it also let both rings tell their own separate chapter of the story. One hand carrying the year-long public spectacle, the other hand carrying the quiet, 3-day-old marriage. 2 rings, 2 very different publicity strategies on the same 2 hands. And that tension between the loud and the quiet, between what the public was shown and what the public assumed, is exactly what carried into the aftermath, because once the ceremony was confirmed, the story didn't end. It just shifted into a new phase. What this marriage means for a man whose entire identity, on the pitch and off it, was built around never quite finishing on his own terms. So what does a wedding change for 2 people who'd already spent a decade functioning, in nearly every practical sense, as a married couple? On paper, less than you'd think. Ronaldo and Georgina had already raised 5 children together, weathered a shared tragedy, moved across 4 countries for his career, and built a media brand, including the Netflix series I'm Georgina, around their life as a unit. The legal step of marriage formalized something that had, in the eyes of the public, existed for years. But the timing tells its own story. The wedding landed just 3 days after Portugal's national team confirmed a new head coach, and just weeks after Ronaldo's own emotional exit from what he'd called his final World Cup. Reports afterward noted that the wedding's understated tone gained even more weight against speculation that Ronaldo could be stepping away from international soccer entirely following that exit. Marketing analysts in Portugal had already started discussing what his eventual departure from the national team would mean, with one expert at IPAM arguing that Ronaldo the brand had become more valuable than the national team itself, making his eventual exit difficult to replace. That's the wider frame this wedding sits inside. A man who spent 2 decades as the most singular, most driven figure in his sport, chasing goals, records, and a World Cup trophy that never came, closing one enormous chapter of his career and opening a very different one as a husband within the same summer. Ronaldo remains under contract with Al Nassr through 2027, and Portugal's new coach, Jorge Jesus, has said publicly that Ronaldo remains part of his plans going forward, even floating the idea of one final farewell appearance in a Nations League fixture at the Lisbon Stadium where Ronaldo's career began. Nothing about his football future is fully settled, but the wedding, for the first time in years, gave the public a milestone in his life that had nothing to do with a trophy at all. Georgina, for her part, has spent the last several years building her own identity well beyond being Ronaldo's partner, as a businesswoman, a Netflix lead, and increasingly the public face of the family's day-to-day life, while Ronaldo remains focused on football. In past interviews, she's spoken about raising their children with an emphasis on humility, discipline, and gratitude, telling one outlet that she and Ronaldo have taught their kids not to take anything for granted. That value system, keep it grounded, keep it private, let the results speak, is arguably the exact philosophy that shaped how this wedding actually played out. No spectacle, no guest list leak, just a ring moved to the right hand, a photograph with 2 letters, and a crowd 1,000 kilometers away watching somebody else's ceremony by mistake. There's also a quieter, sadder thread running underneath all of this. The couple's 5 children who attended the ceremony include the memory of a 6th, their son Angel, who died shortly after birth in 2022. Reports on the wedding noted that his loss remains part of the family's story, even in a moment defined by celebration. It's a reminder that the version of this relationship the public has followed for a decade was never just the glamorous one. Engagement rings, red carpets, transfer fees. It included real loss, processed largely in private, the same way the wedding itself ultimately was. So, delivering on everything the title promised, yes, Cristiano Ronaldo and Georgina Rodriguez did get married in secret, and yes, they pulled off something close to a genuine sleight of hand to do it. Thousands of fans gathered at the right island for the wrong reason. An unrelated bride became an accidental viral star, and the actual ceremony happened 1,000 kilometers away with nobody watching but 5 kids and 2 parents. Whether or not the Madeira rumors were ever intentionally allowed to run wild, the outcome was the same. The biggest celebrity wedding of the year happened, and almost nobody saw it coming, including the 2,000 people who showed up expecting to. What comes next for this family is still being written. Ronaldo's football future remains genuinely open. One more Nations League appearance, maybe, or a longer stretch at Al Nassr before he finally walks away from the sport that defined him. Georgina's own ventures continue expanding well beyond the shadow of his career, and the 5 children who stood beside their parents in Cascais are growing up inside a story that started at a Gucci counter in Madrid a decade ago and has now finally quietly reached its most permanent chapter yet.